Welcome to this episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess. I'm Aric.
And I'm Angie.
We are married with a ton of kids.
We have 6 kids total. He has 3 and I have 3.
My name's Hallie and I love riding horses.
My name's Lexi and I've always been the most responsible.
My name's Carter and I like picking on my siblings.
My name's Chase and I love a clean truck.
My name's Summer and I still like to spend my parents' money.
My name's Dane and I love baseball.
And around here, we talk about the real stuff. Parenting, marriage, faith.
Along with grief, growth, second chances, and blended family life.
And all the in-between moments that don't make it to Instagram.
Our podcast is for the couples figuring it out, the parents trying their best, and the ones holding faith and heartbreak in the same hand.
Look, we don't have it all together.
Not even close.
But we do have honesty.
And a whole lot of grace.
This is Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess.
Let's get into it.
This episode is brought to you by Seven's Boutique, an online shop created by 2 sisters, Angie and Jess, who believe you should walk boldly, dress divinely, and know your significance. At Seven's, you'll find easygoing pieces that are cozy, classy, and made to mix and match. Think relaxed pants, cozy sweaters, and lifestyle sets you'll want to live in. Every item is handpicked with purpose, so you can shop confidently, dress comfortably, and walk boldly. Inventory is small and curated, so if you see something you love, don't wait. Visit sevensboutique.com and use the code PODCAST10 for 10% off your first order. www.sevensboutique.com. Walk boldly, dress divinely, know your significance.
Welcome to this week's episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess, where I think it's just going to be awesome because we are talking about something that I'm really good at, something that Angie's really good at, something that I struggle with, something that Angie struggles with, and it's opposite. We're opposite in how we do it. So we're going to talk about vulnerability, which that's my jam. It's where I live. Okay. Angie, it's been something she's got to work on. Humility. Looking up that definition as we speak so I can start this thing. Angie, on the other hand, I know crushes in the humility aspect. So vulnerability and humility and how they can work together, whether that's through your marriage, your parenting, your bonus parenting. That's what we're going to talk about today.
Whose idea was it to come up with this topic?
Sure as heck wasn't mine.
No.
But I'll be vulnerable. Sure. Here we go.
All right. Wow. And I'm spicy tonight, so watch out. Eric's really scared tonight.
I didn't want to say that out loud.
Your actions.
If you're watching the podcast, I'm timid.
It's been a day. Okay. First, let's just ask ourselves, what does vulnerability mean to you? Like in my definition, I'll go first of what vulnerability is.
Okay.
What I think it is. I think it is letting people see the parts of your life that are ugly, that maybe aren't as polished, the real sort of authentically you, mistakes, challenges, just those deep, dark spots when you are afraid of being judged. I think that's vulnerability, is sharing the hard stuff.
I think that's really good. My definition is close. I don't actually typically fear being judged. I actually look at vulnerability as a way to connect with people, to say, hey, I have been there. I've probably done that. I've probably thought that. So you're not alone, and we can connect over that and through that. And so that's what I look at vulnerability. It's an oversharing. A lot of people just say it's an oversharing for me. Sometimes a word vomit, if you will.
Well,
I look at vulnerability as, hey, it brings people together.
that's why. So this is a key statement that you just said, because they're connected. That's why I want to talk about both of them, because they are so intertwined.
Fit together like a puzzle.
So that's why you're really good at vulnerability. It's
See why I'm scared, everyone?
because you are, I'm going to be in a rare form tonight. I'm just saying, but the reason why you are so good at vulnerability is what you just said, is because you don't care about what people think, or it's not like a thought in your mind, like, I wonder how this person would perceive this. That part doesn't exist. I would say the reason why vulnerability is so hard for people is because they are afraid of being judged. Now, I do think there's a balance, and you brought it up, so we'll dive into the oversharing. I think that there is an aspect of oversharing. Like, I think it's important to be vulnerable so you can connect with people because it is powerful, 1,000%. It's why there's grief groups. It's why there's a group for any sort of struggle, is because there's power in connecting. But not everyone deserves a seat at that table to know your deepest, darkest challenges. Not everyone's going to show up for you in the way that would allow you to connect. So I do think there's a little bit of like caution and make sure that when you are vulnerable, it's with the people that actually do care.
My friend David C., he said that to me in the last couple of months, that not
To
everyone
stop talking,
deserves
or
a
no?
seat at the table for
No.
all of what you've been.
Mm-mm.
At the same time, I would argue, because this is a podcast,
You're brave.
that Jesus wanted everyone to have a seat at the table. And so I just feel
So
like
you're Jesus?
that's definitely not what I said. I read my Bible and Jesus wants us to follow him. That's all he asks of us, is to follow me.
Yeah.
And so me trying to be vulnerable and to meet people where they are is, maybe there is a place where I should be picking and choosing who I share things with. But maybe there's also a place
this is a
where
great
I'm
great
trying
discussion.
to help meet people where they are.
I think it depends on the intent and the people that you're around. There's a time and place to share your challenges, and with the right audience that's there to listen, that wants to receive it.
Should we just be like cutting to the end where you tell me like where this is going? That like there's like a group of people I shouldn't be sharing with? What am I missing? I think she's trying to tell me something.
I'm actually not, but if you're paranoid about it, then I guess.
I wasn't, but now I'm like, what am I missing? What's happening right now?
I don't think this is really working. I don't think this is working. No, you want it. We're debating this.
Okay.
There's no like underlying.
All right. Got it. Perfect. Back on track. Okay. Well, this one I will say has long been a struggle. And I will very vulnerably say that humility is one of my weaker areas in life. It's not been my strongest thing. And it's really about being able to work in silence, probably. It's about being able to not need a bunch of pats on the back. And guys, I'm loud, I'm boisterous, head of the table here. This is how I roll. Always been like that since I was a kid. So humility, bit of a struggle in my own personal journey. And I can admit to that and say it's not my strongest suit. We actually even created a core value. We had 7 core values at my company that I've worked at. We have 8. The 8th one got added for me. It's humility. Not many of you can say that. So you had a core value added at your company just for you. Congratulations.
Yeah. If you don't put that
Probably
in your
not one to
resume.
be proud of. I know.
So I think you said the silence, work hard in silence. That is definitely, to me, my description of humility. It's like doing the work without wanting sort of someone to see it, to get the accolades, to be front and center. It's doing the work when no one is watching. And I think that is the most powerful thing that you can do. And this is why I say vulnerability and humility are sort of like connected, and you have to kind of have this balance between the two, because humility is like doing the right thing for yourself without, you don't have to worry about what people think, because it's not about what people think of you. It's about staying grounded no matter what.
Can I just point out that one of the great life lessons that has always been a struggle for me, where my dad and I struggled a lot, was he never needed any thank yous. And I remember being a young adult, and him and I would argue about it before he died. I'd be like, Dad, you do all these things for all these people. Nobody ever says thank you. Nobody, they don't have to.
He didn't need it.
He didn't need it. He's always like, God knows. And then when he died unexpectedly at 52 years old, we had 1,300 people show up at his visitation, another 1,300 people show up the next day for his funeral. And there was that moment of like, this is what he was talking about. Like, this is what he was saying. He didn't need the thank yous. He didn't need all the attaboys. Still a struggle. Okay. The attaboy can be a struggle for me. So that's where we're at. Cool. All right. Well, that'll wrap for this week, everybody.
Talk through some
it's really good.
Or
We want to pick some life examples. I don't think we need to go right into Aric. I don't think that feels like. Let's talk about, let's talk about any time where you feel like maybe you struggle with vulnerability, Ange. That may make me feel better. Maybe you can share a little. I can share a little. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Well, I think I'm okay being vulnerable, but in a very small, trusted group. And I think that's probably the difference.
I noticed your circle of vulnerability where you would share with people got even smaller when we lost Hallie. Like it was small when I met you, but then I felt like it got even smaller then once we lost her.
Yes, because I think also what's challenging for people to be vulnerable is if they have been judged. So where you don't care if you're judged at all, I feel like most people have had some sort of circumstance where they're judged. And so therefore their trust in being vulnerable and sharing their struggles just get really, really small. And I went through it when I got divorced. It went really, really small. And there was like 3 people literally that I felt like I could trust sharing the struggles of what it was like to go through that. And just knowing that you had that safe space, like that doesn't matter the volume of people. I think that's also the critical part about vulnerability is like, it's not like you have to have an army of people that you're vulnerable with and you have to broadcast it out to a group. I think it's important that you have at least a person to really feel trusted to share your struggles with and be open to be able to ask questions. So, divorce is an example of that. Losing Hallie, I mean, it's the worst example, but I have found a small group of moms that have been through the same thing that I can share things with. I just had a session today with another mom and part of a I say little Bible study. It's me and her. So little, but that's okay. We can both be vulnerable with each other and I can share things that maybe I wouldn't even share with you because I know she knows exactly what I'm talking about. And that's the most important thing is that you have the ability to be vulnerable and share your struggles with someone that's trusted. So I think for me, though, there was a long period of time in my life where I wouldn't open up or I wouldn't say like, hey, I don't know very much about that because maybe I was afraid of looking like I was not smart, or maybe I was afraid to be embarrassed in front of people. Like there's so many aspects of my life for a long time where I struggled just to be open and honest about how I was feeling. And that's such a sad place to be in, I think, of just not being willing to just open up because of fear, because you're afraid of what people might think of you. So yeah, that's definitely been my struggle. I think even some of the choices that I've made in life, mistakes that I have made, it's been because I haven't had the courage to share my struggles.
It's really vulnerable. That was really good.
Yeah, I can do it sometimes.
Well done. I
Mhm.
really enjoyed that.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah. Well, it was really it was powerful.
Well, that made me happy.
She is spicy
I'm
tonight. I'm
spicy.
just
Spicy.
okay. I think where I have struggled, where I've struggled probably with vulnerability is just sharing vulnerability. I have a tendency to believe that most people can be good and that most people I can connect with. And then sometimes I will be too vulnerable with someone that really isn't that good of a person, apparently, or never had any business knowing all of my life story. And that's on me. And so that becomes a big struggle when it comes to my vulnerability. But again, I feel like more often than not, my way to connect with people is to make them feel comfortable through vulnerability. Humility, it's just, again, I don't know. We could talk about it over and over again. I say all the time, a lot of people will be like, oh, you're so confident. I'm really not. That's, I think, for a lot of people, outward confidence where people, you don't have any humility. It's really just us trying to fake it through life so that it seems like we have our stuff together. I think that's what that is a lot of times with humility. And then, I've tried to think back lately about times in my life where I was around people that I wanted to be humble in their presence. And those people, oddly, were really good at just affirming that whatever path I was on. They didn't have to always be like, good job, but there was always an affirmation of, oh yeah, you're doing every now and then you got hey, you're doing a great job there. Hey, I appreciate you doing that. Keep up the good work. And when I had that, I didn't feel like I had to be as outwardly going of like, hey, look at me. But there's only been a few people in my life that ever really provided that ability so that I felt like I could completely drop the ego and try to help be more humble in what I was doing.
Well, I think there's a difference between asking for feedback and getting input from people that you trust Because that's actually, I would say, more in line with humility, is knowing that you're not above anyone and you're still learning. So getting feedback and affirmations from people that you trust, like, I think there's an aspect of humility. I think where ego comes into play is like, hey, I'm amazing, I'm great, I'm the best, I'm impressive to everybody. Like, that type of thing is more the ego. But humility is definitely like, everyone wants words of affirmation. I think it's the vulnerability to say, hey, this is the real me, flaws, doubts, fears, but I want feedback. Like, I want to know, am I going down the right path? Like, there is a stark difference between that aspect and being loud and boisterous of how great you are. Like, I think that's where humility, in the work hard in silence, let the success make the noise. That to me is probably, in my mind, I'm just talking about from my perspective, I think that is what really humility means, is like doing things to help other people and it being something that's not talked about.
That was a really good explanation. Full transparency. As I listened to you say that, I heard, okay, this sounds good, to be like, hey, I want that feedback. And then I heard the positive thing. I was like, no, I just want the positive feedback. I don't really want the negative. I was like, oh, that's scary. Huh. Interesting. Yeah. So,
Well,
yeah, really good vulnerability on your part and a great explanation. And I really was listening. I was like, ugh, it's the part I'm not really wanting right there in that scenario, is the,
I'm learning. Give me the feedback. Like, that's the humility side of it, is knowing that we don't know it all and we're not done growing. I think that's the hard part to accept sometimes, is like that growth mindset of like, I'm always going to be learning through life. And that's the humility side of it, is not that we always have it figured out and we know exactly what we're doing and we're never going to.
Oddly, I think, while I know I struggle with humility, there are times when I feel like, whether it's in marriage with you or in parenting the kids, that I'm able to find humility when it's needed and be like, hey, I didn't get that right.
Yeah, no,
And
I agree.
I've got to do a better job with that with you. And I apologize, whether that's with you or the kids or whatever. So it's like odd. I struggle with it. But then I do feel like, pride is it's a big sin that people don't talk about enough. I mean, it's messed up plenty of marriages, relationships over the years. And then humility is one of those things, whether it's with your significant other or your child, where if you take a second and acknowledge the situation that you're in, and then it can really help build bridges.
Yeah. And I think sometimes people think that vulnerability and humility are like weaknesses. Like, if someone's vulnerable, they're weak. Or if someone's humble, well, they're just a weak person. But they're not weaknesses. They are more filters. So to me, they filter out crappy relationships. They filter out people that just want to perform and there's nothing behind them. They filter out more this ego-driven connections, because there's times where you can be connected. Just because you feel connected to someone doesn't mean it's a good connection. And that's probably something we should dive into a little bit too, because while being vulnerable to be able to connect with people, that also doesn't mean that that's a good connection for you. So I was also thinking at some point on our podcast, we need to go back to relationship red flags and sort of revisit all of that, because I think it ties into this too, of like the connections with people. And I think there's a lot of times people do feel connected to someone, but that doesn't mean that's the right kind of connection for you. But I would say, if you're vulnerable and humble, it does attract trust and depth with people, and real, like, kind of intimacy with people that you really want to have a good connection with. Sometimes I think if people are turned off by vulnerability, like, that's definitely a sign that that wasn't a safe place for you anyway.
Because what is vulnerability? It really is intimacy with someone. It's being intimate with your thoughts and feelings with someone. What do they say about intimacy, honey? Into
I
me
don't know.
see. Into me see. And so I'm allowing you in to be vulnerable with my inner thoughts and which sometimes
Yeah.
can be a scary place to be, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
There's the opposite of that is probably ego. And we all have an ego. I definitely have an ego. I mean, I do sometimes. I mean, I always want to win an argument.
Well, that's true.
There's that
Okay,
ego.
there is that. I was looking at my mind, I was like, I don't feel like you have an ego, but okay.
But
In that
I
regard,
do think
she
most
does
of the
have that.
time, I
Mhm.
do think most of the time I'm right. So
How's that humility pill you're swallowing over there? Mercy.
just,
Gosh.
I know. So
Gosh.
ego shows up. And, I think it's the comparison games of ego, like wanting to be better than other people, wanting to get credit for something instead of connection. It's sharing wins for validation versus like really I mean, the whole validation thing too, like we all want to be validated. Like we all want to be
Words of affirmation in your relationship.
seen. And ego says, look at me, but humility says we're all actually human. Every one of us are human. And there's not one person that's better than the other person. But that's hard sometimes.
It's a toughie. That
It's
is a
hard
toughie.
on time. So I do think that there's ways you can take that. If you're afraid that it's a weakness, I think that there's ways you can take vulnerability and humility and turn that into an asset. You can reframe it. Like if you're thinking it's a weakness, you can change your mindset to be, well, what if this gives someone else permission to be real? Vulnerability builds trust faster than perfection ever will. And I think that's why I'm also passionate for sharing Hallie's story for multiple reasons. Because I do like saying her name, but believe me, it's painful to talk about her. Sometimes I have a speech coming up May 8th about relationship red flags. And the thing that gets me up there when I don't like speaking is to share the relationship red flags. So maybe it helps someone else get out of a relationship. And two is that if people are going through something similar of a child loss or extreme grief, that they can see me fighting forward. They can see that there's hope, that you can keep going. And so that part of me being vulnerable, although I feel weak every day, it hopefully is giving other people permission to talk about it, to say their kids' names, to know that there's these signs of unhealthy relationships.
So I was thinking about this, and now you just said it in your own way. A lot of times, as we've said, it's hard to be vulnerable because you're afraid of how someone's going to look at you or think of you. And I remember for me, I became my give a damn. So like what you just described is your give a damn hit a different level when we lost Hallie, because you realize in that moment, like you've been through the worst thing. What does it matter if I say something and it's vulnerable and it doesn't go the way I thought? Like no one can judge you and make you feel worse than losing Hallie. After my dad died, it was then my dad died and my ex-wife had left me to marry her high school sweetheart. I thought to myself over that like 7-8 month period, this is awful. Things can't hurt worse than this. So I'll just be completely open with anybody because it's not going to affect, like, no one's going to hurt me as bad as I've been hurt. And I think for a lot of people that don't have a problem being vulnerable, if you were to try to like analyze when did that happen for you, it's very possible that there was like this moment in life where something so bad happened to you that you were like, I might as well just be vulnerable because I don't think that what I'm about, I don't think by being vulnerable is going to be anywhere near as bad as what I've already been through in life and how painful that was.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's some sort of traumatic thing that makes you less worried about what people think. Then on the flip side, another aspect of turning it into a strength is to have selective openness. When we touched on this already, that like not everyone deserves your full story, like all the details. And I mean, there's so much we don't share on this podcast for a million reasons, but not everyone deserves the full story of everything that we have going on. And I think there's this aspect of healthy vulnerability, which means sharing with safe people and not oversharing for attention, and knowing the difference between connection and actually needing validation. And I think this is that like line that's you teeter on, because I do it too sometimes. It's like, well, am I sharing this because I just want to be validated, or am I sharing it because I really want a connection with this person? And I think when you have been through so much trauma, sometimes you gear towards validation just to kind of get that quick little, okay, I'm good, or you know what I mean? So that's something I think to ask yourself, like, okay, when I'm going to be vulnerable and share something with people? Am I looking for really connection or validation?
Also considered, like, I don't know that Angie, she probably doesn't want to be a part of it, but she talked about how there's things we don't share on here. You guys want to follow us on the Blended Blessed Always a Mess After Dark page? That's the one I run on the backside where I share all the backstory stuff. Blended Blessed Always a Mess After Dark. Find it all.
Mm-hmm. He clearly needs something to do. I'm over here. I've got a list a mile long, and he's like, I'm going to go for a walk, and I'm going to relax. And he needs more to do.
Anywho.
If you guys have any jobs for Aric, just comment on our episode so we can keep him busy.
I'm plenty busy. Tonight's the one night I don't have a kid event this week. And so I am going to take a walk when we're done here. And that's for my own personal mental health.
A few more things and then we'll...
Then I can go take a walk. You can go back to your long list of things. I'm just trying to get out of here right now at a good spot. That's what I'm trying to do. Yeah. Find a good level playing field spot so that
I need to go move my body for sure. Another way to keep vulnerability and humility as an asset is to let your life speak louder than your words. So this ties back to the quote I had earlier around, work hard in silence, let the success make the noise. All of our kids know that phrase because I say it.
She often says it. I know it too. That's her phrase. That's her go-to catchphrase.
Yeah, it's so true because it's so hard. But there's power in moving in silence. I've done this several times in my life where there was something I wanted to achieve and I did it in sheer silence, all on my own. So there were no opinions, no obstacles, and I could just work hard in silence. So sometimes you don't need to announce every goal. You don't need applause. Confidence is not something that needs a microphone. I think if you can figure out like those things that you want to go after and just try it, just take one goal and just do it in complete silence. You don't even have to share your goal and see the power that's built in that.
And while I love what Angie's saying, I know that that's just not going to happen easily for me. And if you're listening and it doesn't happen easily for you, you can reach out and let me know.
There you go.
And we can try to figure out, or we can try to walk that path vulnerably with our vulnerability together. We try to figure out what that looks like by being vulnerable and talking it through. This is a podcast where we're helping everyone because not everyone's the same.
No, I agree. I mean, we're all wired differently.
I will tell you, I'm a little worried though, because as I skimmed through the notes and we've reached the point, she just has like a line that just says, you reap what you sow. And I'm like, oh God, where are we going with that? You reap what you sow. I know what God means when he says that in the Bible, but what does Angie mean is what I'm like.
Well, don't worry. I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
Well, I think this is tied to vulnerability and humility, but I have seen this happen over and over and over. And just recently, actually, you know what I'm going to say. I'm not even going to tell a story. I'm going to keep it.
We've had this conversation.
What?
You and I have had this conversation. So I don't think you need to tell the story.
No, I don't. But I'm just saying that's one recent example, but I've seen it happen over and over. And I also, this is so tied to work hard in silence, let the success make the noise, because I believe in karma.
Me too.
1,000% believe in karma. And it's you reap what you sow. And so, you're going to brag about stuff, you're going to get bit. You talk about someone else's kid, your kid's going to mess up the next week. I mean, there is such an aspect to karma because ego is such a short-term thing and humility wins respect long-term.
Amen.
And I laugh and I tell my kids this all the time. I'm like, listen, karma, there's a thing, like someone treats you crappy, they're going to have a big ass fever blister the next week. Like, and that might be why I get mine. It's karma. I don't know. But people will always remember like how you made them feel, how you showed up when it wasn't convenient, whether you stay grounded when you succeeded, all of that. Like I say too all the time, I love when people are like gazillionaires and you would never know it, because that I think is the most respected person that I know are people that can do that, because that is like humility times 1,000. If you could operate in that way where you have metric ton of money, but you still drive a Camry.
I pray.
I mean, because
often.
how hard would that be? That would be so hard. So I just
pray
believe in
often.
karma.
God, if this would be in your plans for me, that this would go my way, and we would have more funds to help my family
You
be
pray
secure.
God for money? Like,
No, you're not hearing me. I recently had this conversation with a much smarter biblical human being than I am. And I said, I feel bad asking God for success that would lead to more money. I think that's wrong. To which he replied, and again, much better at this whole faith thing than I am. He said, it is okay to ask God for things. But how I pray for those is, God, if you would, I want this opportunity. And if you think that this opportunity is right for me because I know how to handle that, the financial responsibility that comes with that, then I would love for you to grant that for me. But also understand that if he doesn't, maybe God knows that I'm not ready to handle that financial responsibility. And so I pray that, hey, I would like to be able to make it so my wife could just sit at home and write and not have all the stresses and worries of the world. And you like that prayer, don't you? How you like them apples? But if I'm not in a place where you can't trust me with those finances, if I'm not going to make good choices, then then I understand why you can't allow me to be that successful. And there you go. So
that's so funny. Here's the difference between you and I. I've never prayed a prayer like that.
I'm sorry, but there are things where I know that you stress about the lack of time. And I know that all you really want to do is be able to write and help women. And so I take very seriously the fact that I can't provide that for you. And so I pray about that because in my heart, I would like to make your life easier and better so that you could do the things that you love.
Well, I appreciate
what that means is that I have to figure out how I could make a metric ton more money so that you could do those things. But I also don't want to pray, God, give me more money so my wife can stay home. No. So I'm like, God, I want to be able to provide this for my wife, but please tell me. And that's a humble prayer to pray, I think. I'm not going, God, I need this money. Can you make that happen? Can you throw down so I can get a couple G-Wagons rolling over here? I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm praying, okay? Not even a little bit.
I love this conversation.
Man.
Because I pray.
That was a vulnerable thing that I just said out loud. I just shared vulnerability with everybody.
Do you guys see what I'm dealing with here? Hot mess express. No, I pray.
Do you ladies hear that she has a husband that wants to take away her concern so she can focus on the things she cares about?
I think that's great. This is a great example of like the difference because I pray the same prayer, sort of.
You're just like, God, give me the cash flow.
No, I don't even, that's what I'm saying. I don't even pray about money.
But because I don't need you to provide for me so I can just sit home and write. I don't want to do that. But I know that you want to be able to focus on your writing and your public speaking and you're helping other women. And so in order to do that, I've got to be able to help you provide. So anyway, we got derailed here. Okay. But we did talk about some humility here.
My prayer is, again, I'm super simple, is like, God, guide me. Like, I love being able to help women. So just guide me down that path, period. The end. Nothing about money. It's really just, listen, it's up to him. Like, he has all control. If he wants me to go down that path, then I'm trusting him and the doors will be open. That's it. Like, I'm not going to even ask for how that would happen or what he specifically needs to provide for you so that would happen. It's just like, I believe this is what I need to be doing. Just if you want me to do it, just open the doors and I will go after it. That's it.
I don't require, but the difference is I don't require any kind of change in my lifestyle for you to do those things. But I would have to provide way more fundage.
I'm saying
you to do that.
I'm saying
that's
I don't
concern.
have to ask specifically.
No,
God.
You don't. But
I
do.
No, you don't. God just knows. God just knows. You don't have to. That's the ego part coming out.
Angie wants to just like write and have this time so she's not so busy. I don't know how to do that.
No, you
help me.
It's
help
I.
Her.
That's the ego.
Help me. Help.
Just say, God, help. Just provide. You're saying I. You gotta.
Honey, there is no I in
get
team.
rid of.
There's no I in team.
You have to get rid of I.
There is a me.
In your conversation. You have to get rid of I in your conversation.
I did. There is a me in team, though, in case you guys missed it. All right. It's right at the end.
Okay. We're wrapping this up. Here's what I want to say. I'm wrapping this up. You don't have to prove your worth when you know your worth. And that's where humility and vulnerability become your greatest asset. You don't have to prove anything to anybody because your worth is in God. That's it. Now you're
Think I could
humble
lose this
and
chip
you're
on my shoulder?
vulnerable, and that's when it becomes your asset. You don't have to prove your worth to anyone if you know your worth.
I love it. I mean,
That's it. I'm
this
out.
is really good.
I'm out. That's all I got to say tonight.
I hope it was really helpful for a lot of us, because clearly this was not pointed at all to one member of this team that I'm on. The Blended Blessed, Always a Mess team. But with that being said, we'd love to know what your thoughts are on vulnerability and humility and where you ride on those
And
lines.
who do you think's right?
See, I didn't ask for that. I don't need that. See, I don't need that.
I said that's my struggle. I want to be right. That's my ego, and I got to work on that.
You need to humble yourself over there,
I am
sister.
so humble.
Meanwhile, I'm over
need to worry
here
about that.
just praying about taking care of my family. I'm going to come off of here. I'm going to get off of this podcast, and I'm going to go right into praying for all of us, for each and every one of you who are listening. Hoping that you guys have a wonderful week, and God bless. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess. Lexi and Hal, take it away.
I'm Lexi.
And I'm Hallie.
Have a great week. Or have the week that you deserve.
That was perfect.
Yeah, God bless.